Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thibert here. Welcome to Hack Shack Studios. We are live. We are live. We are live. And I have the window open, so we're going to hear some of the world outside. I can't help it, man. It's a beautiful day. I need some fresh air. So, yeah, I have some work to do. I have a commission. So, Chrono Mechanics is in the rear view as far as my storytelling part, pencils and inks. So, I am going to try to get out from under some of my commissions and then get into black and white. Yeah, so going to start with Black and White Volume 2 very, very soon. And we have Linkovich. Yes, First Sign of Life. Hey, how are you, brother? And man, my YouTube's been heating up. Thank you guys so much for showing up, and thanks for liking and subbing and all that other stuff. The channel is growing. I'm always kind of shocked when people are out there and are willing to spend time with me and listen to what I have to say, which is very cool for me. Yeah, I'm always surprised. Artists like myself, we work in a vacuum, so we very, very rarely know the real impact that we have on anybody's lives. Usually, even in the old days, we had the newsletter. Well, not newsletters. What was it called? Like where you could send in your mail and you could get your letters read and things like that. But those went to Marvel or DC. They didn't come. They didn't come to us. So we never really got an idea or a gauge on what anybody thought or what anybody cared about. So this is really cool to be here and having direct feedback. So hi again, Art. Been reading you for 30 years. Thank you, Justin Kelly. I do appreciate it. It's people like you that have got me this far and have helped me pay the rent. Actually, I'm not paying rent. I'm paying mortgage, which is better. And I got a house out of it. So we got Zach Bradley, the youngling, the young one. How are you, Zach? And I think Zach's got a pre-launch page for his next Indiegogo project up, so you should check that out. Comics legend, yes, my best friend. Hey, Art, will you ever have Jim Lee on as a guest? I am not that close with Jim Lee these days, and even if I was, I doubt it, just because a lot of the stuff that we are doing and people we hang out with are not politically correct. And I think corporate guys have to walk that fine line. And that's a lot of the reason I'm here, because it took me a while. It took me a year on YouTube to finally find my voice, but I think I'm finding it and I'm being a little bit more outspoken. I got confidence. Yeah, so I managed to live a year outside of the mainstream, thanks to you guys. So I feel like I can speak my mind. I got some confidence. I have a new revenue stream. Yeah, so, oh, wait, Zach just launched. The community is amazing. Yes. So type in your link if you want. I didn't give, you don't have a wrench, so I don't quite know how that works, but maybe just give them the information. I take it it's YouTube, not YouTube, but Indiegogo. So yeah, go check that out. So we got Peter in the chat. Hail Art. Jim Lee is corporate. Oh yeah, like he. Oh man, yeah. So maybe just put the name of your book and maybe any particulars you can think of, and maybe that will guide them over. So I apologize. I need to start throwing out some wrenches. Oops, I hit that one twice. So yeah, I'm going to be drawing and talking a little bit. You guys have mentioned to me, like, what's your take on DC Comics and where is it going and what's their future and et cetera, et cetera. And I, to be honest, oh, there it is. Thank you, Zach. So did you see the update art for Golma? Yeah, so Zach's new project is Goma, and he said it just launched, so it's live. So go check that out. Very good, man. This is a big day for you. It's a big day for the boy, for the young lad. Yeah, so yeah, where was I? Yeah, you guys, I asked you to DM me and to get a hold of me and ask what you want me to talk about. So this was one of the things that you had mentioned, like the future of DC and where do you see it heading and the like. So I become a man. Yeah, yeah. With your new book, you are the man. Yeah, you are the man. It's the man of the hour right now. So yeah, I just thought I would throw my 2 cents in. Once again, this is all speculative. I have no facts. I have no, um, you know, no articles. No, I have nothing really to base this on other than 35 years in the industry and kind of listening to people and knowing comic book trends and seeing how things go. So one of the things I want to do is I want to see if I can draw, because I got a lot of work to do. If I can start working at the same time as talking about this heavy duty subject. It's going to be challenging, but I'm up to the challenge. Let's see what Chad has to say. What do you guys think of Twitter being bought by majority stock last week, and Dorsey maybe getting booted from his company? Oh man, this is beyond me. I don't keep up on that stuff. So that is a subject for another time, Chad. So yeah, so here is the drawing. Here's the doodle that I'm going to be bringing together. This is voodoo. This is voodoo from the '90s. The voodoo that you do so well. So I have a few custom details I want to put in before I start inking. I need to sharpen my pencil. So yeah, the DC thing is I don't quite have the same points of view as a lot of other YouTubers out there. I'm not going to say my view is more optimistic or wishful thinking, because I'm a pretty pragmatic guy. Like it would be sad to see DC go under, which is kind of what people are speculating, that it will go under. So I don't really think that, um, but I know that there's change on the horizon, and there's going to be there's going to be some growing pains. There's going to be changes. The whole industry is changing right now, and and as far as money and business and profits and all those other things, I I think that all print medium is doing poorly right now. Like I don't think it's just DC. I know that they're not doing very well right now, and that people speculate that with this buyout, is it AT&T, the AT&T buyout? Is it AT&T? And that there's going to be a collapse, and that the industry is going to lose DC, that they're going to go away, because of the lack of profitability for a big company like AT&T. You guys correct me. I'm brain farting now. I think it's AT&T, and so yeah, there's that aspect of it, and I know that there's going to be some restructuring. There already is. I know that AT&T has said that there's going to be, a lot of changes, and a lot of them aren't going to be like necessarily nice changes and things like that. But DC in particular, well, comics in particular, but DC, since I've been working there, 35 years ago or whatever, however long it's been, there's always been talk that there's no profit in it. Like there's always been talk like there's just going to be the end of the industry. There's going to be a collapse. There's going to be comics are going to go away. And I think at least since I started in this business, there's been serious talk like the one we're having right this very minute, at least 3 times before the newest one. So I know that this isn't new. This is old, and that these things have been talked about and speculated on, prior to now. So I tend to think that like I said, I don't want it to seem like wishful thinking, but I tend to think it's going to go the same way that it's always gone. Like there's talk and there's speculation, and nothing really changes too much. And I'm not the guy that's got my head buried in the sand and that I'm thinking that the comics industry isn't changing and isn't hurting as far as sales and stuff like that, because it is, quite frankly. And we need to acknowledge that and try to work through those problems and see if we can figure out a more profitable way of doing these things. But having said that, I don't think it's going to come from DC, and I don't think it's going to come from Marvel. I think it's going to come from people like us. I think there's going to be some change in the way comic book business is ran, and I think there's going to be some shakeup. But I don't think it's going to come from Marvel, and I don't think it's going to be from DC. And I have a lot of reasons to think this. One of the main reasons that I have that everything with DC is just going to be business as usual is because, one, like I said, the trend is always, there's doom and gloom talk, and then nothing really happens. Somebody gets fired, there's a change of guard, and then, it's business as usual. And I remember when I first started working at DC, Marvel didn't talk this way as much as DC did. So when I say these things, it's mainly relating to DC. Is that I think it was Mike Carlin told me, he said that DC to Warner Brothers is just a tax deduction. Like DC doesn't make them any real money. They make money off of the licensing and products and movies and TV and film and all that other stuff. But they don't really make any money off of the comic books themselves. So the comic books are kind of like an R&D. So if you think about it as research and development, it's more research and development. And so that's what the comics part of it is. And also, I heard people talk, well, the film, they could just, the comics go away and then film could just, they'll keep things going with all these characters and stuff. But I say that there can't they don't have enough films to keep those things going. There's so many characters, and to keep the copyrights and to keep all of the universe and the copyrights going, they have to keep things moving. They have to keep those IPs in print, or in something, either a film, TV, or comics or whatever. And so the thing is that comic books is still the cheapest way to do that. Like, you have all kinds of like characters like Dr. Fate, Mr. Terrific, um, Ragman. Like there's just, there's all kinds of weird characters. Brother Power the Geek. There's all these weird characters that you can't. There's too many characters and not enough TV shows and not enough movies and not enough of these things to exist to back them up. And so I believe that there's always going to be a need for the comic books, because they can keep these characters not only relevant, but they can, create more mythology for them, and they can also keep the copyrights, and they can just keep the characters alive, so they don't just disappear off the face of the earth. Because I guarantee you, if they went in a way that that was just film and TV, then a lot of those characters would just disappear, because they wouldn't have, like I said, they just don't have enough of a place for them. It just doesn't exist. Um, and so I think, in a nutshell, that DC will be what they've always been to their corporate overlords, which is a major, major tax deduction. They're just going to, just write it off on their taxes. It'll just, that's all it will be. It'll be a major tax deduction for DC. And, if you have good enough deductions for a big corporate entity like that, then it's like making money, so the loss then becomes a making of money, and then they always get to keep the IPs relevant, and they get to R&D. They get to keep building and creating mythology for these characters. And so it's that comics they never made Warner Brothers that much money to begin with. Like, it just, that never existed. It wasn't like the DC all of a sudden started losing money. I mean, they're losing more now than they have, in recent history. So that is true, but they've never been like a major power player as far as bringing in, revenue and anything like that to Warner Brothers. So I don't know. I don't really see it as anything changing. I see it just as it's just a change, but not a change as far as like DC going away or anything like that. I see it just as it's just another conversation that people are having about the death of the comics industry. And like I said, it's always been there. When I first broke in the business in the early 80s, mid 80s, there was talk like that. I was working on Adventures of Superman, and that book wasn't selling crap. It wasn't until we started writing some really good stories and things like that that it started building, but it never built to a point of, crazy money. It only did that when, the publicity, stunt happened and they killed Superman, and then, revenue changed. There's been a few times where, DC Comics have made, significant money for their overlords, their corporate overlords,
And quite frankly, Warner Brothers didn't know what to do. Like they just didn't know what to do. Like, oh no, now they're successful. What do we do? And I don't know. I really do think that this is just one more of those moments where you know it's fun to speculate. It's interesting what's going to happen, but I'm just throwing my 2 cents in. You guys asked, you guys wanted to see what I had to say, so in a nutshell, that's what I have to say. Having said that, we now have Jim Lee. That's doesn't have to have his creative vision filtered through a partner, and that he already, I mean, he's got to be well aware of the situation and how dire it is. So he's definitely not, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's not going to repeat the same things, the same problems or the same ideas as, say, the Dito did. So there's one. Well, there's a lot of good aspects to Jim Lee, but I was thinking this was a while ago when I was working at Extreme Studios, and Jim called, and he just wanted to talk. He probably wanted to see, how Extreme was going and see if he could get any information from me. But we talked. We had a good conversation, and it was about the time where those Image guys were starting to license things and make cartoons and the Spawn movie and stuff like that. So these guys were you know having Hollywood come to them and take interest. And Black and White had a little bit of that too, which was pretty cool. And so we were talking, and we were talking about Rob Liefeld, because Rob was the first, I think he was the first one that was kind of had something going as far as a animated cartoon for I forget what network, but he had that. And so he was kind of, I don't know how to say it nicely, or I'll try to say it nicely, is that he was, Rob has really specific ideas on what he wants and how he wants to do things. And so he was in development on Youngblood as a cartoon show. And so this is still, Jim and I talking. And, this came up. And I think it was just about the time that it fell through, actually. It was either falling through or it had already fell through, Rob's animation, show. And so I was talking to Jim about it, and Jim said that, well, I've been approached by the same network, the same people, like all the same people. So as they were having some problems with Rob, they were approaching other Image guys and seeing if they could option their IPs. And so, I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. And he said, yeah. He said, there's one thing when I was talking to them that they didn't like. And I was like, what? It's like, and this is kind of his words. I'm kind of paraphrasing, but that they didn't like kind of being told how to do their job or their business. And so he said that I'm getting along really great with them. And the reason why is that I sat down and told them, I said, I'm not an animator. I'm not a director. I'm not any of the things that you guys do. I make comic books and I run a studio, like a comic book art studio. he said, so, other than, whatever you guys want me to be part of, I'm just going to bow out, and I won't really tell you guys what to do or how to do it or anything like that. And so I thought, bringing that into present day Jim Lee running DC Comics, that I think Jim kind of gets it, like that the creative process, is like hire good people that you trust, and then kind of get out of the way. Let them do what they do. So if they're animators, let them put the animation show together. If they're writers, let them write. Um, but don't middle manage them. Don't kind of, like, what do they call that? Just by committee or by management tell people how they should create and what they should create. Like I think when comics work the best, when I've been around comics that have worked the best, is that it's when editors and when management gets out of the way of the creative people. Like, they hire good people. They hire good people that they trust, and then they just kind of get out of the way. So their main thing is just to hire and put together good teams. And then once they've done that, I believe that they need to trust those teams and let them go. And I love DeDito. I talked to him the other day. Actually, I sent him a message, a Facebook messenger message, and I just wished him well, and I thanked him for all the support that he gave me those years when I worked at DC Comics. So I didn't think he'd get back or anything, but I just wanted to be gracious and let him know that I did appreciate, um, you know, keeping a roof over myself and my family's head, and taking care of us for those years. And so he wrote back, no problem. And he said, like, working with, creative people like yourself was always a pleasure. And, it was like a no brainer. And then he wished me and my family well. And I did the same to him. And he said, don't worry. He said, I'll be fine. So I've always, I've always liked Adito. When I first came to DC after I got canned at Marvel, he was very, very kind to me, and he was that guy at that time where it's like, let the creative people get good creative people, spend the money, and then get out of the way. And from what I hear, later years later, that it seems like that he has, you know, I guess tried to micromanage and control, what people do, and what the next big comic book thing is going to be, and so on and so on. Like I said before, like in another stream, I'm not really sure how much of it was him and how much of it was Jim, but from what I mostly hear, it was him, and that he's very kind of controlling with continuity and minutia and things like that. And I don't think that Jim's like that. I think that Jim is more like hire people and then get out of the way. So just based on that idea, I think it's a good thing. Like I said, I really do like Dan, and I'm really sad to see him go. I mean, sincerely sad to see him go. However, maybe if Jim can, hire good people and then not micromanage them, then maybe, the answers can come from those creative people. As long as they know that they're nurtured, and as long as they know that they're not going to get fired or there's going to be any big repercussion for their ideas. And like I've said before on streams, start profit sharing with these things, man. If you created a mandate, I believe this in my heart of hearts. If you had a mandate, like just a creative mandate, and said, not that you get in specifics, but just a mandate that says, well, not even a mandate, just a way to incentivize creative people and say, we need new villains. Like all these characters need new villains. So we're going to get into a very generous profit share situation with all creative people. These ideas can come from anywhere. These ideas can come from letters, colorists, pencilers, inkers. It doesn't have to just come from writers. Good ideas can come from anywhere. When I worked as a team member on Adventures of Superman, on the Superman books, Mike Carlin left it open for everybody. Everybody had say. Everybody could throw in a good idea or two, and anybody can have a good idea. Good ideas can come from any place, and just have a corporate, like send out memo, whatever, and say, we're going to have, we need new villains, because your heroes only as good as your villains. New villains can bring in new storylines, could put these characters into a new direction. Like just as far as new fresh things that can happen, they can happen just by introducing a new villain. Look at Court of Owls, look at Darkest Night, or Blackest Night. You can do all of these things with just a new villain. So and then pay them a good amount of money, maybe even a 50-50 ownership. And you're going to start seeing, if people think that they're part of the company and they have like ownership or say, these good ideas are just going to freaking fly, man. People are just going to come out of the woodwork. Like I said, everybody, not just, people that are in like, oh, well, these are the top tier writers and only the good ideas can come from Michael Bendis and, Scott Snyder. No, everybody, man. Because all you need is an idea. You don't need to craft it necessarily as a story. You just need a good villain idea. The writers can write this stuff, but you just need those ideas, and then just get out of the way. Green light these ideas, get out of the way, pay the talent for their contribution, and then get out of the way. I know a lot of creative people don't want to give DC and Marvel their good ideas because they just have seen, creators be exploited and not really reap the rewards of their creation. So they're a little burnt. They don't want to do it. They've heard the Jack Kirby stories. They've heard the Siegel and Schuster stories. They know these things. So they don't want to just be giving stuff away. And so I think if you did that, you could quite possibly start seeing some change. You could start seeing change and getting some fresh ideas in there. But back on Jim Lee and what I was saying about working well with others is, I think what is needed right now in the industry, and maybe since DeDito is gone, because I know that there was kind of a little bit of a rift between Dan and Joe Quesada, and I don't know how much power Joe Quesada has anymore, but it doesn't even really matter. Is that they should do an epic Marvel DC crossover, and they should show the fans and the retailers that this bullshit is done. Like, we're not we're in this together, man. Comic books are one. Marvel does well, DC does well. If Marvel knocks DC out of the limelight, right? Or they just decimate them, right? Because you always hear like, oh, business, if you want to decimate your opponent, you want to decimate your competition, all that blah blah blah. Well, if they do, and they decimate DC, let's say hypothetically they get their way. Well, then what? Half the industry goes away. What's going to happen to retailers if they don't have their Batman and Justice League stories? Superman books. What's going to happen then? Then you will have some serious problems. If DC stops publishing, or Warner Brothers, lets DC go, or that does go away, then you're going to see some serious problems. Because then the whole infrastructure of selling these books will go away. Because retailers, are relying on those DC books as well as those Marvel books. So, we don't want that to happen. So I think to show faith and that we're all in this together, I think that Marvel and DC should do a big crossover event. That's what I think. Because if they did, then they show unity, and then the retailers will truly have an event that's worth hyping and getting people into the stores for. It's not just the same old bullshit. I mean, it is a stunt. It's a crossover. It's an event, but it's not. Oh, we're gonna renumber the line of books again, and we're gonna do whatever kind of BS they've done in the past. This will be unique and different, and it will give the retailers something that they can sell. They can bring excitement back into the industry. Have all your top talent working on these titles. Something that the story is so freaking epic that it takes two universes to battle. I think that would be a good start on trying to get things back. And I think with Jim Lee, it could happen. And man, I know it's a blast to do these things too, because I worked with Dan Jurgens on a Superman Fantastic Four book, and it wasn't like a comic book size. It was like the Treasury size books. It was massive. It was almost the same size as the artwork itself, and it was crazy. Like, we had the Fantastic Four, we had Silver Surfer show up, we had Galactus. It was amazing. Even Franklin, the little kid, like all the Fantastic Four characters. It was a big deal, and I had a lot of fun doing it, and I know a lot of people liked it. So you could do something like that. Like, they did that Amalgam universe, and that was fun. But to be honest, it almost seemed like, I mean, I did some of those issues, and I did it was Magneto and the Metal Men I did with Jeff Matsuda, and it was a lot of fun. But I think if they got more A-list people, and then maybe something that was less hypothetical and maybe more like life-threatening or life-altering, like something, just a huge, massive storyline. I mean, I like those old Treasury size Marvel DCs where they would have, like, even like the villains would work together. So you could do something like Darkseid and Galactus or Darkseid and, you know, Apocalypse, or I'm trying to think of some of the other, you know, like Thanos, or some massive cosmic villain, you know, that you could introduce. Or, you know, what would even be better is, you know, bring in a new villain, you know, to define the crossover. But I think that could happen, and I think that Jim Lee is a guy that can do that. I think that he does know how to play well with others. That's why I told the story about the video, or the cartoon show and stuff, because you know, he's done it before, and you know, his cartoon show got made. You know, the Youngblood cartoon didn't get made. So, and that's not a slight to Rob. I don't want to seem like I'm like slighting Rob at all, because I'm not. Rob just had different criteria for what he wanted. That's all. And I don't blame anybody for having a vision. It just didn't work at the time for what was going on. So, you know, Jim read the room and played accordingly. You know, Rob had very specifics, and I think that, you know, Rob in the long run has proven, you know, himself, you know, with all the Deadpool success and Cable and things like that. So, you know, his was more of a long game, you know. So that's how I feel about that. And there's been talk about Marvel, you know, taking over DC, and I don't think that's going to happen either, because I just don't. I mean, unless Marvel could own, like, the licensing, like, unless they could actually own it 100%, like they could flat out own all the licensing, the market, like the publishing, you know, the film, the TV rights, the video game rights, everything. I don't think Marvel would want to touch it, because there's just there's no money in it. There's no success in it. Why would they want to just publish comic books that are like an IP farm for Warner Brothers? You know, why would they want to develop comic book, you know, R&D stuff for DC Comics? It doesn't make any sense. So unless they could own it outright, I don't think that's ever going to happen. And I don't think I mean, maybe. I mean, if Disney got behind them, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, because Disney is freaking in some crazy debt right now. They've been purchasing like crazy, so I don't think that's going to happen either. You know, that Disney would buy up the Warner characters or the DC characters. I don't see any of that stuff happening, to be honest. And I don't even see an independent publisher publishing those books. I mean, unless somebody had some serious capital to publish, you know, DC Comics, like just to buy the publishing rights, and then just to put out DC Comics, and then the DC publishing division would kind of go away, and then they would basically farm all that stuff out, which I have no doubt that that's what Marvel wants to do. I think the Marvel Knights idea, and I think that when they license stuff out to, you know, us at Image Comics, well, not licensed, but when, you know, Image was doing the Heroes Reborn kind of thing, I think that was Marvel seeing if they could get other people to take over their overhead and to produce their books for them. I do believe that. I think that was a test. Whether, you know, Rob and Jim and whoever else was involved with that would be able to publish their IPs and their characters in a successful way. And then there was Marvel Knights, which was kind of an independent, it was Joe Quesada and Jimmy Palmiotti kind of working as independent producers for these books. And they both were pretty successful. But the thing is, there was still a market crash, and there were a lot of outside things that affected the outcome. So it wasn't able to really go long enough to warrant any kind of real move on Marvel's part. But I know, that that's what they were attempting. Because the thing is, and their corporate overlords are Disney now, and Disney doesn't produce their own books. They license almost everything out. Like they don't really have the overhead. So they don't have a publishing division. They don't have, like they don't make their own sportswear. They don't make their own, anything. They just license everything out. And I think that's what Marvel would like to do, or Disney would like to do with Marvel, is just license stuff out, and then let somebody else have the ownership, not ownership, but the overhead, take care of the overhead, financially take care of that side of it, so that Disney and Marvel can just basically make money and not spend money. So they get money in licensing, and then they get a certain amount of royalties from whatever it is that is made. So I think that that's what Marvel would ultimately like to do, and I just don't know if if DC is thinking the same way. Because like I said, I really, and I've had a lot of people say this, that DC Comics is just a tax deduction for Warner Brothers. Like, that it's just a way of making money by losing money. And all big corporations need those kind of tax deductions. Otherwise, they're going to lose money. So this way, they're kind of losing money, sort of, but they have comic books, and they have IPs, and they have a lot of things that they got out of it. So even though the publishing was kind of at a loss, they still have something at the end. And also, they do have the deductible as well, so they get to deduct that money. And so, they're not losing that money. They're kind of it's almost like income. So working as a freelancer and stuff, you understand the stuff a little bit more. Most people don't work like this. They just kind of they work for somebody, and then they file their tax return, and then they get money back on their taxes. But when you work independent contractor like I do and stuff like that, there's just quarterlies paid, and there's no money that you get back really. And so the only way I can save money is with my deductions or with my losses. So losses become like a deduction. So it's kind of like money earned in a weird way. So I don't see anything changing there. And one of the other things that I wanted to bring up is that there's been talk of lifestyle brands. So I can see this happening, where Marvel and DC just become licensing brands, like lifestyle brands. So like comic books are no more important than a beach towel, or a teapot, or something like that has Superman on it.
You know what they should make? They should make beach towels that tie around the neck with the Superman S on it, so the beach towel is a Superman cape. Boom, baby! There you go. You know, like they could do, you know, stuff like that. So a lifestyle brand. Hold on, I'm getting a little dry. So a lifestyle brand can be, you know, it could be all encompassing. It could be, you know, comic books. It could be merchandise. It could be anything, and then they could just all fly under the same banner. So the the only problem is like the publishing division. Well, it is at Burbank. It's really big, so I don't. They would have to condense. They'd have to condense the publishing division into like bare essentials. Like I don't know if they would be able to print as many books as they do. You know, because either that or they would have to really pare. They would have to pare um, it down a lot. They'd have to have a lot less employees and stuff, which is also weird. When they moved to Burbank from New York, the offices, they I remember getting all these emails, and they'd go, "Oh, you know, we just hired this guy, and he's going to be the head of the whatever division." And I'm like, "The whatever division? What the hell, are you just making shit up now?" Like I've been doing this for a long time. Like I never knew that, you know, there needed to be that vice president of blah 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 blah, you know, senior associate whatever, you know, like there's all like these job titles, and I was like, there's not any money in this. There's very little money in this. Why are you building such a big infrastructure for this when there's just no money in it? And the only justification I ever got out of that, or that I ever figured out, is like, when, you know, because they were trying to make the Hollywood shuffle, they were trying to make the Hollywood move. So I think, you know, Jim, Dan, DeDito, and well, Jim Lee, Dan DeDito, and that Diane Nielsen were trying to make the Hollywood shuffle, along with, you know, Jeff. Um, oh gosh, Jeff Johns. So yeah, you know, in that way they build all this infrastructure and stuff that they can kind of look to their corporate overlords like they're successful, because, you know, especially Hollywood. I have a lot of friends that work in Hollywood and things, and you know, they like to be impressed. Like if you just go in humble, they don't care, you know. But if you have this big Burbank office and you have all these employees, and then you have all of this stuff going on, it looks important, you know. But it costs money, and it's a lot of money that they really didn't have, because obviously, you know, in a couple of years they pretty much just started laying people off, which I knew from the very get-go that it wasn't a good idea. It was a pretty bad idea. And but I think they were playing the bigger gamble. I think they were playing it that, oh, well, it isn't going to matter because we'll build our resume and then we'll be Hollywood guys, and then we can just kind of use this as a resume builder, and we can move beyond here. Um, and so I think that that's kind of what was going on there. I don't really know. I'm speculating, but that's kind of what I was thinking, when it was happening. Because a few years ago, myself and a couple partners, we got together and we were trying to. Well, we did put together a production company. It was called Apartment Three, and there were three of us, and we all shared apartments when we were younger and we were starting off. So, you know, um, Mike Smithson went on to Hollywood Special Effects. He designed and did the makeup effects for Fat Bastard, and just a ton of movies. He's very, very talented. And then our other roommate, Dan Morvick, he um,
is the guy behind the Stupid Idiotic stores, which are in like Vegas and Hollywood and I think Big Bear. He created the pizza pouch. So the pizza pouch is like a big deal. So he was the guy that invented that. And, you know, and he even told me years and years ago, he said that the only way anybody can make, you know, be very successful right now is like with novelties and stupid stuff. Because if you try to make a new car or something like that out of the blue, he said those people would just destroy you before you even got started. But if you just kind of do something simple like novelties or something like that, um, you know, you're not a threat to them, so they don't really see you the same way. And he was right, man. You know, he created a pretty much it's like a Spencer's, like Stupid Idiotics, like a Spencer's shop. But anyway, when we were talking, we are brainstorming this thing. Um, we were obviously kind of, and also Dan's in merchandising and toys and stuff like that. So he worked for a Taiwan toy corporation called Daiyang. Daiyang. That's weird for a kid's toy company. But anyway, yeah, he was designing packages and things like that. And, you know, so we had our own little niches, you know, our own little places of expertise and stuff like that. And I remember when we were talking early on, Mike was saying, if we're going to get Hollywood and we're going to try to be, um, you know, get their attention, we're going to have to woo them, and we're going to have to we're going to have to impress them. Meaning we're going to have a killer address in Hollywood. We're going to have offices. We're going to have employees. We're going to have like all of this stuff. And so when, you know, Smash cut to DC doing all this Hollywood shuffle, you know, some years back, I was thinking, yeah, that's what they're doing. They're trying to create, you know, like this kind of, oh, we're successful, you know, we're big time, you know, we have this Burbank, you know, address, and we have, you know, a view of the Burbank lot, and, you know, all of this stuff. And so I thought, yeah, that's what they're doing. But the reason we didn't do it and the reason they shouldn't have done it is because it's all bullshit. Like, you know, how long can you bullshit somebody before financially it destroys you? Um, and so, you know, I always thought that that's kind of what DC was doing. They were trying to Warner Brothers. You know, it's like, hey, we can play with the big kids. You know, we want some of that Hollywood money too. And really, the only one that was able to parlay that into anything is Jeff Johns. You know, because Dan and Jim really weren't able to do anything. So that's kind of my take on that. So I should probably read some of the chat and see where you guys are at, so I don't ignore you. I'm probably losing all of you. You're probably all like, it's boring stuff. But here, lighting's pretty weird. Let me raise it up here. So this is Voodoo. I'm going deep. This is a deep dive into the 90s. I don't have my glasses on. I don't even know if this resolution's good. Oh yeah, it's pretty good. Well, there you go. Voodoo. And then this is all going to be black in here, and then there's going to be lights, like she's up on the stage and this is a pole. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fade all of this out with a series of hatching and cross hatching, and just fade it out Kevin Nolan style. I'm going Nolan style here, and just kind of bring it out into a fade. And then these are going to be kind of like spotlights, just different lights glint, like hitting. I guess if there was a camera, it'd be like kind of hitting the camera, kind of refracting. What do they call it? Lens flare. And then like some spattering over the black, so it looks kind of like there's movement going on. So there's that. Let's go. Let's see what you guys are talking about. Oh man, we got Baron Von Taco Cat in the chat. That rhymed. Cute drawings. Wow, there's a lot of new faces here. This is cool. But I'm going back in time, which means I'm 4:57. It's 5:24. None your business. It's none your business. Yeah. Flush Bendis. Flush him where? Down the what is it? Commode? Commode? No, we don't want to do that. He might be good for an idea or two. I don't think he should be in charge of any universe though, and I don't think he should be writing too many books. I like Michael Bendis. I think he's a good guy. He stood by me. I think he's written a lot of good stuff that I've had the privilege of working on. However, I think he needs to kind of prove himself again. I think he needs to do something that makes him worthy of listening to again. And he hasn't done that in a while. So, they say you're only as good as your last job. So, um, I think he needs to do some of that. Just kind of prove himself again. Write some good stories and don't worry about agenda as much. Just write some good stories. Because if your stories are agenda, that's not really a story, man. That's all flash in the pan. It's gonna go away. It's not tangible. It's like in the '60s when they were writing about hippies and peace, love, and whatever. How long did that last? This agenda stuff isn't gonna last. It's not timeless. It's very dated. And if that's how you're gonna identify yourself, and those are the stories you're gonna write, you're gonna find yourself, you know, in the cliche department pretty damn soon. Just write some good, timeless stories, and those things are going to transcend it. Most of the stories that we all love don't really have agenda, and then they don't really date themselves to that extent. You can enjoy them without, the agenda or the time. Like was it like Watchmen was kind of its time, and even Dark Knight Returns was of its time. But I think you can still enjoy them, even if it's not topical, the Cold War or whatever, because they both had kind of the Cold War or like nuclear annihilation as a backdrop. Yeah, the industry is changing. Hatch 450 SX. Yeah, it definitely is. That's why I just want to go back when I was talking. It is changing, so I'm not denying that books maybe aren't doing as well as they did before, and those things. So that is happening, but at the same time, just printed medium is not doing well. So why would comic books be excelling if the printed medium isn't? But it is changing. It is changing, and that's why I'm here, man. Because it's not going to happen for Marvel, DC. It's going to happen here, and I'm not saying that this is the answer. Like what we're doing here with the crowdfunding comics and talking directly to the fan base and all that as a business model is the answer, but it's definitely a move in the right direction, and it's a shot in the arm right now. It's a shot in the arm with the industry that is kind of lackluster. So at least there's stuff happening. There's interesting ideas and things at play. People are trying to push the envelope again, trying to do things different, and that's great. And that's why I'm here, because there's definitely not stagnation here. There are people dreaming, there are people hopeful, there are people that are building stuff.
to try to entertain people, and it is building and it is growing. So there you go. Art, wouldn't Mike Carlin make a good DC publisher head going forward? Um, that's a loaded question. Mike was editor in chief at one time, if you remember. He was just before DeDito was the guy. So um, I like Mike a lot. Like he and I are good friends, but we kind of have a little bit of a love-hate as well, especially when we work together. When we're not working together, there's no problem. But I remember, I think it was about the time I was doing that Superman Fantastic Four, because I think Mike was the editor, and I was working mainly at Marvel at the time. It's funny because I was working on the Fantastic Four at the time, and I had a good run on Superman. So it just kind of felt like, and it was Dan Jurgens doing the artwork, and I was doing the finishes. So it just felt organic and right. And I remember I was just like filling things out and seeing if there was maybe a home for me at DC. You know, as a freelancer, you're always looking for things like that. You know, your next paycheck. And so I asked Mike, I said, because I was working for less than I was at Marvel. So my per page rate was less at DC. And so I asked Mike, I said, well, you know, could you meet my Marvel rate or beat it? He said, no. He said, you are at the high of the industry of DC Comics right now. And he said, there's no money for you. There's no way I can get you more money. And so then I was kind of like, okay, well, what if I start doing regular work for DC and I showed my loyalty and say, like, in 6 months or whatever, could I get a raise then? And he said no. He said, that's it. He said, you're capped off. And I said, so for the next 10 years or so, you don't see any way I can make more money? And he said, absolutely not. He said, this is it. And so I said, then why would I want to work for your company? I did say that to him. I said, why would I want to work for you if this is it? Like if you were working for a firm or a company and they told you that there was never any way to advance, there was no way that you could get better or you could change your situation, even with inflation, you're just going to, keep the status quo, and that was it. I don't think people would be very happy about that. So I didn't work for DC, until Marvel canned me. But then when I came back to DC, DeDito was in charge. That's why I kind of put DeDito up on this level too, because he was the opposite of Mike. He was willing to spend money. So I don't know what he did or how he did it, but he was wooing talent, good talent, and DC was stagnating with their talent. So a lot of people were going over to Marvel when Mike was, editor in chief. So I think that, like I like Mike personally, but I don't think he was good. And I believe he would tell you that he wasn't a good editor either. I mean, uh, editor in chief. I just don't think it was something that he was okay with. Um, I raised enough money to hire Art to make the best book ever. I don't know, maybe down the line. Right now, I'm just enjoying the hell out of doing Chrono and black and white. We have Central Scrutinizer. If I'm paying what comics cost now, Marvel, the artist better be damn sight better than I don't know who that is, but I take it that that person is not very talented. I think what Marvel was doing for a while is what I was saying that DC was doing, and that's why they had some pretty bad talent. They had some good talent too, but they had some pretty bad talent is because they just weren't willing to pay the money. We have skits. What's up? Boop, 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 boop. All right. Let's see. I'm looking for the highlights. All right. Yeah. I mean, they could do that, but they still have to publish it. It still have to be a comic book. So, if the comic book publishing department was to go away, I don't know how else they would keep these IPs relevant. They'd have to do something like that, though. Okay, I'm not going to click on that though. What is the Murphy verse? Is that Sean Gordon Murphy? Yeah, I liked his Batman stuff. I thought that was pretty cool. Chad says farmers insure their crops, and if the crops fail, they get money. Yeah, I think that's kind of Warner Brothers' MO with DC Comics. I really do, and I think it's been that way since I've been working in the industry. I don't see it any differently. I think this is just some growing pains and some change of the guard, which happens, every so often. And but this is my thought, and I don't have any proof of this or whatever. But I think if people really want to make change and they really want to do something and create things that are successful, they can. They can. So when comic books sell what they do, and we have all these people saying, oh well, comics are this, that, and the other thing, it's over, it's all said and done. I don't believe these people are stupid or they're idiotic. I think it's just the status quo. I don't think they want to succeed beyond where they're at. I think it's just about maintaining the status quo. Because if all of a sudden DC was really successful in their publishing ventures, then what is Warner Brothers going to do? They lose their tax deduction. The dynamic changes, and then it becomes a weird thing. Like, oh well, now DC has to succeed, or Warner Brothers, would force DC to succeed, and maybe Warner Brothers just looks at it as like, it's not going to happen. It's never going to be more than it is right now. It'll get better, it'll get worse, it'll stay the same, but it's always going to kind of keep a certain level. But we get more in the tax write-offs, and we get more as just writing this off. So we'll keep the status quo going, but give the illusion that they're trying to make them better, because if you don't, you're going to lose at least what you have. So you still have to put on a game face. You still have to seem like you're trying. I just don't think they really care. I don't think they care if DC Comics is profitable. And I think that Marvel with the Disney overlords, I think it's getting more that way as well. I could be completely wrong, but um, just based on things that I've seen and the trends, the way things go, because even when Marvel was starting to sell millions of copies and things like that, Marvel says it was the characters. I don't think it was the characters. I think it was the individuals. I think the individuals went in there and they shook things up and they started doing stuff outside the box. And there were enough of us doing that then became interesting and became like something people wanted to see. They were interested in it. And I think Comicsgate is the same thing. For right or wrong, people could go, oh, I hate it. They're a bunch of, Nazis or whatever the hell people say, which none of those things are true. But it's interesting. there's stuff happening. There's stuff happening every day. There's craziness going on all the time. And with Image Comics, there was the same. So look how that worked out. But just keep in mind, those things didn't happen from Marvel or DC. They happened independently. Even when Todd McFarlane, Jim Lee, Rob Liefeld, Silvestri, and Larson, and all of us were there. We were already outside the box. You know what I mean? We weren't thinking about just paychecks. We were kind of taking taken matters into our own hands. I remember doing ads with Jim Lee, like doing like inking some ads that, well, some of them were finishes, but we were putting these ads together, and Jim's just like, "Do you want to ink this?" I'm like, "Sure." And so then I asked him, I said, "So, um, how do I get paid for this? Is this through, Marvel's licensing or whatever?" These were X-Men ads. And he said, "No, we're just doing these." And I was like, "What do you mean we're just doing these?" He goes, "We're going to do some killer art. We're going to send them to Marvel, and they'd be dumb not to use them." And you know what? He was right. We did killer artwork, and we gave them to Marvel, and they used them, and they advertised the X-Men. So whether they wanted to run an ad for X-Men or not, they now had a killer piece of artwork that was already done. Almost like they were obligated to use it. And these are things that people were doing back then. They were taking these matters into their own hands. They weren't content with the status quo. And I think that's what Comicsgate is right now too. Oh, this, I read this out loud before, but I think it's funny, and it bears saying Flesh Bendis. Down the commode. Yeah, I thought that was a great book, but look what they did. Look what they did to Super Sons. They canceled the main book, and then they released a mini series just because Bendis wanted to have control of the Superman franchise. These are mistakes, you guys. These, as a corporate head, these are mistakes. When you have success and you have people that love the book and it's doing well, just stay the course, man. Geez, it doesn't, that doesn't even take an Einstein to figure that out. Just get out of the way, just let it happen. Um, Even magazines need competition. We have news agents still sell magazines. Yeah, man, hire some salesmen that are going to go grassroots and go into different places and sell. And like the Bratweisers are doing, create your own damn stand up, create your own place to put your comic books. They used to have spinner racks, man. Don't rely on like, oh, well, Walmart's going to put them on their shelves or whatever. Create stuff, man. Put them on the newsstand. Be a little bit more, hands on with it. That's why I don't think that they want to. I really don't, because they could. How do you have your parent company Warner Brothers or Disney and not do these things? Oh, thank you, Baron von Taco Cat. Thank you. Yeah, I try my best. I try my best. Yeah, Disney does children's books, but you know what? I don't think they publish those. Like even in the day, they had like Little Golden Books. They were licensing to those companies. Disney didn't do it. And the reason I know that Disney won't do this is because there was a time when, in the 90s when books were selling a bunch of, making a big to do and selling a bunch, is that Disney was going to do that. They were going to start a publishing line of superhero comics, and they had Marv Wolfman and Lynn Wein over there, and they gave them an office, and they were interviewing, and they were using their influence to bring people in. And I met with Marv. It was so awesome to still. I think it's the first time I ever really walked on the Disney lot. I'm a big Disney guy. I love all that stuff, and so we're walking the old animation lot and everything. And then we ate at the commissary. It was so cool. Marv is an awesome guy. Wolfman is terrific. Um, and so I remember my wife and I had a Christmas party, and Marv and his daughter came to the Christmas party. He's so freaking awesome. When we lived in Redondo Beach, yeah, he's cool. And so, yeah, and then nothing happened because I think Disney realized they could make more money licensing the stuff than actually creating a publishing infrastructure. It just didn't make sense financially for them. So I don't think they'll ever do it. And I think at best they're trying to do that with Marvel. I think if they could tomorrow, and they could license those Marvel characters. I'm sorry, I was reading while I was talking, so I was saying the same thing over and over again. But I think they would. I think if they could license outside of themselves, they would do it in a heartbeat, because they don't want that overhead, because that's not making money, that's paying money. So if they could just, you know, find a publishing company that was willing to pay them a licensing fee, then that's what they'll do. And the thing is, the reason why it's going to be hard with Marvel and DC to do that is because they have a universe. And that's going to, who's going to have those kind of deep pockets, right? To be able to license a universe. And also, it would just be the publishing rights. So who would do that? Like if Marvel and DC are hurting right now financially, who would put that kind of money up just to, publish a comic book without any licensing rights or movie rights or TV or video game rights? No one's going to no one's going to do that. I just don't think it's going to happen. You'd have to find somebody that's a huge comic book fan and that has a bunch of money, just a crazy ton of money, because I just don't see it happening any other way, because it doesn't make any sense for Disney or Warner Brothers to do that. And to be honest, it doesn't make any sense for Warner Brothers just to let the publishing division die either. Um, like I said, I really don't want it to seem like I'm being like, oh, he's got rose-colored glasses on. There are problems, but I see possibly more problems the other way if they were to let it go. At least that's, like I said, that's my 2 cents. So I don't I don't really know, but I also know that these conversations have happened, over the years that I've been doing comic books. So I say it's par for the course. I think that it's just it's fun to speculate, it's fun to talk, it's fun to come. I mean, that's what I'm doing now. I'm just offering a different point of view than most of the YouTubers and different people in the media. But like I said, I don't know. I don't really know, and to be honest, I don't think they do either. So yeah, it's an interesting time, to be doing comic books. It's it's definitely um, interesting, speculative. There's a lot of things that are going on right now, and even the ones that are kind of maybe portrayed as more negative, I still think you know, are okay. There's people that saying that they don't want the drama, and stuff like that, and I I kind of share a little bit of a different opinion. I don't go out and look for drama or controversy. That's not my personality, but I do understand that it makes things interesting and gets people talking. Like if you say something that's pretty outlandish, people are going to pay attention. And I do believe as long as you're not trying to destroy anybody in the process, there is some destructive, stuff that happens. But as long as,
it's not destructive and you're not trying to destroy another human being. I think that a certain level of drama is okay. And actually, I think it's it makes things interesting because people love a story, right? Like who's doing what to who, and all those things. And I think, like I said, for my taste, I just don't want it to be I don't want it to be destructive. I don't want to see anybody hurt. I don't want to see anybody fired. I don't want to see any of those things. But I think, some of the he said, she said stuff is it's kind of fun. I get caught up in it every once in a while. I try not to comment about it, but I sure as hell do tune in and listen to it. So yeah, I mean, it's interesting, if nothing less. I mean, if you think about the way Hollywood sells, shit, it's no different. It's kind of the way the media works. So if you're kind of in the public eye, some of this stuff plays out. Well, a lot of it plays out in public. So it's hard sometimes not to have some of this stuff that people call drama. But like I said, there's taking it too far as well. So I don't want to make it seem like it's all good. But it's not necessarily all bad either. So there's that. Well, I'm kind of getting hungry. I'll ink some more of the hair. I actually am going to get a brush out and ink most of this hair. I like to ink dark hair with a brush. It seems to make sense to me. Oh, you guys, stay tuned. I got, you know what? I'm going to do some of these longer strokes, and then I'm going to show you guys. I almost forgot. I have, I got some pages in, some color pages in on chrono mechanics, and I am going to show off for the first time on my YouTube the black and white Vampirilla cover. Vampirilla. Sarsaparilla. So yeah, I think I'm gonna check out on this. I'll finish it up later. So thanks for the hanging out for the drawing part of the show. So stop camera. All right. So are you guys ready for a preview? Are you ready for some cool shit? Oh, my buddy Kevin. What's up, Kevin? I hope we see a return of Juju. You know Juju. Holy shit, dude. I'll show you some redesigns of Juju. Like I said, man, I've had probably since from the '94 black and white to the current volume 1 that came out a few months ago. There's like 25 years of developmental stuff, man. I've done so many drawings in different versions of the story and the characters. I got some cool Juju stuff. If we that would Kevin, that would be the next storyline. That would definitely be the next storyline. My wife loves that storyline, and to be honest, I would love to revisit as well because Juju is like a technomancer. Like she's magic, but she's technologically based, and you don't see that a lot. And when I came up with that idea, you hardly saw it at all. So I like the idea that she raises the dead and she creates zombies, but she does it partially through magic, but partially through science as well. So I'm just going to say it because
I don't know, you guys will forget by the time I come around to doing these stories, but she's got like these spikes and that she puts around like a headstone or around a body that's in the ground, like in a cemetery. And then she does her incantations and burns her whatever, and spells and stuff like that. And then those kind of reverberate through the technology and they reanimate the corpses. Almost kind of like, I don't know, maybe like an electric shock or some kind of pulses that go into the body, kind of Frankenstein-ish, like, that was electricity that reanimated the body. So something like that. With comics, I love it because you don't have to get too literal with how the science works. So that's kind of the idea. So yeah, she's a cool character, man. She is a cool character. The redesign is pretty cool. I'll show it at some point. I'm hooked on doing my own things. Yeah, I am too. And it's been 25 years since I was able to do my own thing. So thank you guys for supporting these books and these campaigns that I do, because that's how I'm able to stay here. Otherwise, I would probably be back at definitely DC. Marvel, I don't know. I don't know. Okay, so I think I have to hit this button. Then I have to hit this button. Then I have to click this, pull this lever, and then do this. So hopefully, oh, that's this is the drawing. Sometimes I'll do the sketch um, in pencils, and then I'll come in and digitally rework those. So this is, I had this up because I printed out the blue line so I could ink it up. So some of this is, you can kind of see the more technical line, like these, like in here and on some of the arm and part of the face. You can see the darker lines, those are digital. So I kind of augment, shift, and change digitally. But oh, I'm really proud of this. These hands right here, I should have kept it on layers. This is all digital. Well, you can see part of it isn't, but this is all digital, like the hands. There's a little, I'm going to simplify the knuckle. So usually you don't show that much knuckle action on a lady. And then this one too. So that was a little extra bonus. I forgot that was up there. So let me see. This is what I wanted to show you. So this is for next week, you guys. So we are going to do a black and white Vampirilla variant cover campaign. And it is going to kick much butt. And so this is the variant cover, and it was pencil and inked by moi and colored by the great Kyle Ritter. And so yeah, we're gonna put this bad boy out there, and we have some. I don't have them all locked down yet, but there's going to be some fun stuff as well. I'll just tell you, and then we'll see if it happens or not. So trading cards, prints, maybe a black and white version, just the line art and different stuff like that, just to keep it fun and interesting. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. So this is going to be the next campaign. So right now, Chrono Mechanics is in demand, but this will go live next week, and it should be a lot of fun. So look forward to that. And then I got a bunch of Chrono pages back from the colorist today, and so these are kind of the reimagining. So this is Perea on colors. So he did a pretty major job. I love the way Zim came out here. Look at this. Freaking killer, man. Yeah, he just took this to a whole new level. Just a whole crazy new level. You guys, I can't tell you how in love I am with this process of doing creator own and seeing this stuff come together. It just brings joy to me. Look at that. That's freaking alive, man. Marvel, DC, these aren't, I'm not copying a template. This is like all brand new. This is from my imagination. And to be honest, man, I'm getting way more of a kick out of doing this stuff than I ever did at Marvel and DC. This is cool. Working on Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, that's a high, but this stuff, nothing can top it, man. So please, please get out and support these books, um, because I would love to just keep doing this. And the only way you can is to not just fund the campaign, but try to overfund so you can use that money to invest in the next campaign. So that's kind of the plan. Um, so Chrono was a little bit of a hard sell because it's a little outside of the box, but I am sure that the more I talk about it and the more you guys see stuff, the more you'll see how amazing it is. I'm getting some pages back from the letter soon, and I'm going to post those up. You guys are going to get to see some of the tone and the writing of these pages so you can make up your own mind. So if there's anybody on the fence, that's a little bit like, oh, it looks like a kid's book, or it seems this or that. I'm hoping that I can qualm those doubts and show you guys just how freaking cool Chrono Mechanics is. So look at this. Look at all the cool texture, all this stuff. Just badass, man. Just so cool. Look at the ground detail. It's just awesome. Just taking it to the next level with the color. Look at that. So cool. Just the way the eyes are done on Zen. Zen is the blue character, if you guys don't know, the squid. The squid child with the Trinity gem floating by his head, always by his head. And so this was cool. This is kind of an info dump page, but it's really, really cool. So we kind of catch you up to speed because I like to throw people right in the middle of the action and let them kind of figure out or maybe backtell some of the details. But so you can start off with a bang, and Chrono starts off with a bang. So this is a little bit of backstory on how they got to this point, and it's done really, really fun. I don't want to give away too much, but yeah. And so all the clock faces, all that cosmic stuff you see in the background, that'll give you an idea of what, when I say time stream, that's what the time stream looks like. So this yellow ship right here, this fun looking, this is the time ship. This is where the Chrono Mechanics, this is their transportation to the work site. So and basically the time stream is just kind of like a freeway, or it's a commute. It's a commute road to get to where they're going. And so each one of those clock faces represents a time. So when they fly right through the clock face, they get transported into that timeline. So let's say the one directly above is 1954. I don't know why I said that, but 1954. So they fly through that clock face and then they're in 1954. But they have to travel the time stream to find the coordinates to get to the timeline that they want to, or they need to get to, so they can repair the machine or part of the machine that they have to. In this case, this story, we focus on the cooling plant, the C7 cooling plant. And as big machines, they overheat, they run hot, they need a cooling system. So sometimes it's not like the big machine they're working on, they're just working on a section or a part of the big machine. So that's what this is. In this story, anyways, is the C7. So they have to replace a blower motor for the cooling plant. And the reason I know that is because I just had to replace my heating and cooling in the house. So a blower engine or blower motor is very essential to, cooling or heating. It's what pushes the air through. So that's that. This shot here where they're all sitting down and the guy with the guitar, that's the interior of the time ship. And so just to show different time, like lapsing and movement. Each one of the parts of the cosmic time stream are different. So there's kind of this purpley red, there's the green, and then there's the blue. So just to try to help tell the story, because it's a montage, and then the dialogue will, when you read the dialogue or the narratives, it'll kind of weave you through the story, so you can follow and understand exactly what's happening. But I was really proud of this page. This was a layout task right here. But when you see the dialogue all in there, it'll make complete sense. So that's the 3 pages I wanted to show you. And then what is this? Oh no, that's what I already did show you. So yeah, so that's Chrono. So I just want to give you a little bit more. And I'm going to keep doing that. I'm going to keep showing you guys and try to get you excited about Chrono Mechanics and what that's all about. And so this is going to be next week's campaign, Vampirilla and Black and White variant cover. So here's a little zoom. Since I'm in Photoshop, I can do this. I like to go into Photoshop and show these things off because I can do this. I can zoom things in and you can see them. Look at that. Look at the detail. The detail in the coloring. Pretty amazing. So the idea with the background and the theme of this was I found a bunch of Frank Frazetta paintings, and I was like, hey Kyle, how would you feel about kind of doing a kind of Frank Frazetta-esque kind of environment to put these characters in? And he was like super gung ho. So I just sent a bunch of stuff. I didn't want to kind of pigeonhole his creativity. So I sent a bunch of different Frank Frazetta paintings, and he kind of came up with this, which was a little bit of a hybrid of I think 2 or 3 different paintings. And we did the mist. I always like adding the mist. I'm kind of like a Ridley Scott fan, so I like to always bring in some kind of environmental, ideas: mist, smoke, rain, fire, embers, just different kind of environmental things. I think it adds to the environments. So that is that. I'm gonna come back. I'm coming back. Nice spaceship. Yeah, I think the Chrono Mechanics stuff is a lot of fun. I had a ton of fun designing all these things. We call work transport crummy. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing about the Chrono Mechanics is it's just their pain in the ass job. It's a super fantastic meets the mundane. So to them, it's nothing special. It's just kind of their pain in the ass job. I hope. Well, I don't hope they kick themselves, but I'm hoping that before it gets to that point, that they'll come over and they'll back this book, and they'll just have a great ass time. Because I guarantee you this, you will not read a book like this at all. I mean, there you can always make comparisons like Hitchhiker's Guide or stuff like that, but this thing will have a completely unique feel. I know that because I've had reviews, and like I said, I have taken some Hollywood pitches, and people have told me such. Love the art pages. Thank you so much. I do appreciate it. So let me see what this is. Mighty Joe Young. So is Vampy just a cover or an actual story? Well, I mean, the book is there's a story, but it's a variant cover for that book. And I'm trying to get pages right now because I want to show some of the interiors as well. So once I get those things, once I get more of those details, I'll show you guys those, and you can kind of make up your mind. Because yeah, it should be just a cover, although the cover is pretty kick-ass, and the covers become collectibles unto themselves. But without a good story, yeah. Oh, this is awesome. Yeah, yeah, great influences, man. And then throw some Mobius in there, some Hanna-Barbera, some Disney. You got yourself basically. Let me think. think that would probably be, and then throw in some kind of like comic book creators other than like Mobius, like Kevin Nolan, Neil Adams, maybe some Art Adams, and you pretty much have me. That's what you get. That's me. Oh, thank you, Kevin. Absolutely love this campaign. Kevin's been a huge supporter of Chrono Mechanics, and I appreciate that more than I can express in words, my friend. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let me show you one more. I'm going to screen share one more time. This is something else that I have going. It's not right now, but it doesn't cost you anything. Come by and sign up for the Black and White Volume 2 Second Chance, you guys. The second chance. Once I started posting things up and fulfilling this campaign, I got a lot of people saying, hey, man, how do I get this book? How do I get this book? So we were going to do a newsprint version, but once we fulfilled the campaign, Pamela did an inventory check, and we have enough to run, a smaller campaign. We have less of the Grey Capullo variant covers, but we do have enough overall to run a campaign. And if you guys sign up right now for the Second Chance Black and White Volume 1, you will be eligible for a exclusive trading card. And the reason I say you'll qualify is you have to back. If you back one of the tiers, then that trading card will be yours. It's going to be very, very limited, so it's probably going to just be for the first couple days, maybe a week. We're still putting things together, and then you guys will get that trading card sent along with your tier. And so yeah, that's what we have now. We have the Second Chance, so it's going to have the same cover as the original, because it is pretty much the original. Well, it is the original comic book. And so then here's the Grey Capullo variant. I couldn't fit the whole cover on, so these things are very limiting their format. So like I said, we have very few Grey Capullos left. Somebody told me, they sent me an article or something that somebody wrote and said the most rare Grey Capullo cover of all time is this cover, because they are very limited. There's not a whole lot out there. So if you are a Grey Capullo fan and you want to get something that, I'm not saying it is going to be worth more down the line, but it is definitely the most rare Grey Capullo cover. Based on what this person, this article this person wrote. So then we have some interior pages here that I get to highlight, and this one is white. It's a splash page. White Sung, aka White, going off on a bot interior panel from the book. So when you hover over it, you get to see a little bit of a little clip. So this is Read Blackett, aka Black, sticking it to the bots interior from the book. So these are pages from the book, you guys, just to give you a little teaser. And if you go back into a lot of my social media, my Instagram, YouTube, I think on YouTube I show a lot of stuff off, Twitter, even DeviantArt, Facebook. I think it's probably easiest to find them on Instagram and probably DeviantArt, as far as to see some of the interiors and things like that. But I'll be posting more, and I'll show you guys as we move forward on this campaign. So yeah, come by, sign your name, doesn't cost you anything, and you can potentially get a freebie out of it. So I think that's pretty cool. And I don't know if I can do this. Let me see if I can do this. If I can just click another tab and if that will share, or if I have to click out of here. Let's see what this does. Ooh, it worked. Yay. Experiment. So Chrono Mechanics Retrofit, they do more before the dawn of time than most people do all day. I'm not going to do the big pitch, but we're at 34,284. We just added three new stretch goals, which I will go over, and one more tier, one cool tier. And these are designed to try to get us to 40K. If we can get to 40K, then I'll be able to use that money as a buffer to get basically Black and White Volume 2 up and running. So it'll give me a little bit of time. When I said invest back, that investing back into myself as far as being able to pay my bills, which will give me lead time to start creating Volume 2, which I have been working on little bits and pieces, but I haven't had a ton of time to devote. And like I said, once I get these commissions done, then that's what I will be doing full time, is working on the Black and White Volume 2. So here's the mystery sketch tier. So it's a mystery sketch grab. You never know what you're going to get. So the idea behind this is that there's a lot of developmental art for Chrono Mechanics, a lot of time shift versions, a lot of different alternate versions of each one of the characters, of the universe, of their tools, all kinds of stuff. So I thought what would be fun is just where you could own a bit of behind the scenes artwork that went into not just this comic book, but just creating this IP. And some of this stuff is very near and dear to my heart, you guys. So it wasn't an easy decision, because when I was going through these pieces for the work in progress sketchbook, I was a little trepidatious, man. I was a little hesitant, but I think it's better to get into a true Chrono Mechanics fan's hands than kind of collect dust in the Thibert archives, or vault, as I call it from time to time. So that's what the mystery grab is. So here's some of the interiors when you get some time. It's there's a link in the description. You can come, you can kind of peruse it at your leisure. So let's see. I don't want to scroll too fast, because then it'll give you guys some kind of vertigo. Here we go. So this is the work in progress sketchbook that I was talking about. So it's going to be horizontal, kind of like a centerfold or a calendar. That's the way it's going to open. And it's going to be narrated by the elucidator, who is basically he's the data bank. He's the brain center of Chrono Incorporated. So he's just this massive computer that keeps track of all time and timelines and goings on at Chrono Incorporated. So he's very integral to the day-to-day at Chrono Incorporated. So he's going to narrate the sketchbook. So I thought it would be fun to keep it in theme. And I have a designer, I'm going to say his name once I start getting work from him in. So he's a cool Comicsgate guy, and he's done some pretty killer stuff in the past. And he was nice enough to agree to help me out here. He'll get paid, but I'm just saying, with all the great stuff he's done, it's always kind of neat when somebody on that level has time to work with you. So these are some of the interiors of the sketchbook. These are kind of also ideas of things that you'll get in the grab. Although some of these are bigger than that will fit in the envelope. So these three right here, these examples, they probably won't be in the envelope. And some of them are tighter and some of them are looser. So this will be a better example, this Caravaggio drawing, of what you'll get in the mystery grab. 5 minutes to dinner. My wife just came in. Are we having, what is it, halibut?
Not halibut, the cod, yeah.
Codfish.
Yep.
We're gonna have some codfish tonight. So that's what I'm looking forward to. So these are the variant cover collection, and then I want to get down to the stretch goals and share those with you, because this is all the new info that I haven't really shared with you yet. So also, if you back a book now, you'll get all these other stretch goals. So come by, check out these stretch goals. There's a trading card set that you're going to get. There's a button, a killer button. there's an awesome guitar pick that I can't wait to make. So you guys got us up to 19K. So you got yourself a guitar pick, the lucky pick, and that's going to be a big time prop in the story. So it's not just a fun little aside stretch goal. It's actually kind of a character in the story. So we've upgraded at 25K. You got 6 pages. At 30K, you got 6 more pages. So it started off as a 48-page book, but you guys managed to, with your generosity and your belief in this project, we got to 30, which means you get 12 extra pages, 12 new pages. So here we go. This is 35K. So this is the new stuff. So you will get a PDF of the Chrono Mechanics movie script. You guys, I'm so proud of this movie script, and I'm hoping we can get to 35K because I'd love to have somebody read it. It's so horrible to have written something and worked so hard. Like Matthew J. Hillary is a script writer for Hollywood, and we met, we hit it off, and we basically took the comic book and adapted it into a movie script, a 116-page movie script. And this is so killer. And I think it would be so much fun to get this into your hands because you could read it and you can kind of read the comic book and then you can see how the adaptation of the movie script works. So you can kind of see how like behind the scenes like adaptations happen and how even creative people that did both adapt things to the big screen. So it's similar, but it's different at the same time. So it's a lot of fun. And if we can get to 35K, I would love to be able to send these PDFs to you guys and get some feedback. Like I said, I mean, like with the sketches, it's a shame that some of this stuff will never see the light of day. So these campaigns allow me time to get, like some of this unique stuff into your hands, some of these one-of-a-kind kind of collectibles, behind the scenes stuff into your hands. And man, if you can't tell, I'm excited. I'm excited. So let's get this to 35K and I can get you that movie script. At 37 and a half, we can do the killer book upgrade. I've had a few of you say that you want it in that square bound format. So right now it's a saddle stitch, but I would love to get it a square bound too. There's also some foil enhancements and things I'd like to do as well, but we've done the number crunching and based on the numbers that we have now, it's just not feasible. But at 37 and a half, it is feasible to do the square bound. So we have looked into that, and that would be killer. That way we could get you kind of a more unique, one-of-a-kind collectible, especially if we can go beyond the 40K. The 40K is just one of those fun things that I'm going to do for you guys that it's just a way for me to thank you. To if we can get to 40K, it's a way of me just saying, here's a bunch of freebies. Here's a bunch of stuff I'm going to give to you guys, and it's not going to cost you anything other than helping me shout out this campaign, getting the word out, sharing it with your friends, even your enemies, and backing this book. It all helps. Trust me, it helps. This is all grassroots. So the idea here is the golden time card equals free doodle. So you guys, Pamela's already looked into the printing of this of this golden time card. It's kind of like the Willy Wonka, card, but this is a time card, so it's going to actually be structured like an old school time card you punch into a machine. And so the idea is 1 out of every 10 backers will get one of these golden time cards. And if you want to part with a cool collectible, fill out the time card, send it back to me, and I will do you a doodle of Doug, and I will ship it back to you at my cost. So you don't have to pay extra for shipping. You don't have to do anything like that. So 1 out of every 10 backers will get access to one of these cool doodles. And like I said, it would be a toss-up for me. I'd be going, do I want to keep the golden time card as a collectible, or do I want this drawing? So you guys will have to decide. And that's at 40K. And like I said, really at 40K, that's the sweet spot. I would love to try to get this book further along, because that means that I can do more. I'd have more options. Money equals options. Money equals opportunity that I can provide for you guys, like new stretch goals, new ideas, new IPs, those type of things. So that's kind of the idea behind these stretch goals. Is it's kind of a way to inspire and motivate to get to these big thresholds. So I can get you more stuff, and then I can create a better, more impressive, one of a kind book. So that's the ideas here. So I'm going to scroll to the top. I'm going to do it slow, like I said, because I don't want to give you guys vertigo. But when you get a chance, click the link below once I'm done here, and you can see all the cool artwork, all the neat tiers, and all the freebies in the form of stretch goals that you guys can get. All right, we're almost there. We're almost there. We have original artwork tiers as well. So there's the mystery grab. Here we go. Oh, I haven't showed these in a while. These are cool too, you guys. Make sure you click on these little cogs underneath the video, because they are absolutely hilarious. So we are 465 backers, 34 284. Thank you guys so much for helping me get here. I appreciate all the support. You guys are amazing. So let's go back to the wall, to StreamYard, and let's wrap this bad boy up. Let me go back in time in the chat, see where we're at. Hell yeah, Mobius. Hell yeah. That guy is, it's not just one book, it's not just one style, it's everything, man. That guy is, he's the career that I envy the most. Capullo is one of my top 3 favorite artists. Well, if you haven't got the variant yet, you will have access to it. Oh, I have a Creech story real quick. I believe the original Creech, I got a special thanks in, because I gave him, it was kind of it was a heartfelt beat that I felt, because I was working on Black and White while he was working on Creech. So we were going back and forth on the phone and faxing each other and kind of helping each other out. And so I think he was saying that the baby dies, if you're familiar with the story. Spoiler alert. And I said, no, the baby's the hope of the story. The baby has to survive. So that means that that's the payoff to everything that happened. It's a dark story, but I think as long as there's some kind of hopefulness at the end, then it will work. And so he said yes. And so that was my contribution to that story. If you're familiar with it, you can see how it would have gone. You and Greg need to jam. Yeah, we used to. Man, we used to. He would hold the phone up and he'd play guitar, and I'd hold the phone up and I'd play my drums for him. Heck yeah, for volume 2. Yes, that is the next passion project. Fish for halibut. Fish for the halibut. Hell yeah. God. Yeah, the way my wife cooks it, it's like tomato, like sliced tomato on it. Onions. I know this probably doesn't sound great. And there's some kind of, like, it's kind of like a salsa topping. I think sometimes it has, it's not pineapple. What fruit is that? It's like a mango or something in it. I don't know, man. It's really, really good. It is delicious. Epic pick, yeah. Oh, we have Vilnid. Haven't seen you in a while, brother. Welcome to the show. All right. Okay, so that's it. I think I covered everything. I got some drawing done. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. It's always a blast. It makes the time go faster when I'm working. So you guys are amazing. And have a great evening. And I'll see you again soon. Oh, Pontificators this Friday, you guys. Make sure you tune in. So if you haven't, please like, subscribe, give a thumbs up. I do appreciate it. This channel is growing like crazy. I think I'm only 4 away from, is it, oh, what is it? Let me see. Let me go off on a tangent here for a minute. I think I'm 4 away from 70. So it would be 2,470 subscribers. So we take it from 60 to 70 subscribers. So that would be phenomenal. So like and subscribe, give a thumbs up. It helps the algorithm. Oh, excuse me. Thank you guys. Have a good evening. I'm going to go eat my halibut. Take care.